I once had $100,000 offered to me for a deodorant brand. The business needed the money, but I was like, you have aluminum in your deodorant and I don't do that. I was like, can you make a non-aluminum and then give us the money? And they're like,
have you ever wondered what it really takes to stay relevant in a world that moves at the speed of trends? To not just build a brand, but to be the brand for 20 years.
20 years is a long time. We sold the business in 2022. People are like, oh, so when is your contract up? Are you going to leave? What's next? And I'm like, I don't see myself going anywhere. I'll probably stick around. It's my name and it's my legacy.
Rebecca Minkoff is the founder and namesake of her iconic fashion brand, the force behind the Female Founder Collective, and the author of the best-selling book, Fearless. You might also know her from her podcast, Superwomen, and from appearances on Project Runway and The Real Housewives of New York.
Project Runway, I was on for a lot of guest judges. You're giving your opinion. They wanted you to be a little bit harsher or more critical because it's dramatic to have the host say, this dress is awful. I don't want to crush this person, so I always was trying to be constructive about my criticism.
This episode isn't just about fashion. It's about visibility, longevity, leadership, and what it means when your name is the business. We get into the numbers, the pressure, the behind the scenes of what it takes to keep showing up as the face of a brand, how to evolve without burning out, and how Rebecca has grown to a multi-million-dollar empire while raising a family, staying relevant, and creating space for other women to rise too.
There's barriers in every aspect of your life, but you just push through them. And you keep going until you hit that titanium 20 thick foot wall. And even then you might be kicking it. You have to be unstoppable.
If you've ever struggled with identity in your business, felt the pressure to pivot or evolve faster than you're ready for, or even just wondered how to make your work outlive the trends, then you need this episode. Let's dive in. Rebecca Minkoff, welcome to Unstoppable Success.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So we're sitting here in New York City, and this is just honestly such a full circle moment, I guess, because last time we were chatting, I was back in Australia. You were over here. And
it was 2 a.m.
It was 2 a.m. for me, yes. But it's so exciting, and I'm so grateful to have you here. So Thank you for connecting. You have such an incredible story, and I want to dive into everything you're doing because what are you not doing at the moment? But firstly, I need to know, what are you wearing?
Oh, good question. These are Rebecca Minkoff. The belt is Rebecca Minkoff. I can't tell you who the top is, but it's not. And then some Birkenstocks.
Love it.
Yeah.
Honestly, you always have this beautiful elevated style, and obviously
thank you.
You do a great job because you designed it.
It would be bad news if I showed up looking bad and I'm a designer, right?
Is there any days where you don't have a piece of Rebecca Minkoff on?
I will always have a Rebecca Minkoff bag.
Okay.
But it's not always shoes or clothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an outfit that you ever put on and you really step into your power? What would that be?
Ooh, I think I did over the winter a really long run. We had this oversized blazer and then a mini dress. And it would work with combat boots or, easy high heels. And I felt really just great. Like I could take the jacket off and be sexier or put it back on and be more of a tomboy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the brand, is this sexy tomboy. So I think that for me is like, I was like, I have to stop wearing this outfit. Like I wear it all the time. But I loved it.
But it becomes almost your uniform, like a superhero. You put it on and you feel unstoppable. I love that. Okay, before we start, I always ask one question, and that is, what is something you're really proud of at the moment? Because I think as women, we can be so quick and on to the next thing, and we've got a never-ending to-do list. And I think as women, it's so important to just pause and say, oh my gosh, I just did that. How incredible. So I would love to celebrate and hear your win.
I just had a really wonderful feature in Forbes magazine, which is a big publication here.
Yeah.
Kind of recapping 20 years. And that article did make me reflect, oh, wow, this is, yes, we're celebrating 20 years. I've been talking about it for 6 months. I'm not done talking about it yet. And it was just like, wow, 20 years is a long time. And, you see these businesses start and go out of business, and the cycle of this can be like a lot of people can't stay in the game.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be like, I'm still in the game, I'm more excited than ever is something I'm proud of.
How do you do that? Because it is so true. Businesses, even you see restaurants, they have lines out the front when they first open, and then very quickly they kind of trickle off, the hype dies down. How have you stayed relevant and just continuing to even have that excitement within yourself as well?
I think the relevancy comes to, I talk about Madonna a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She was always reinventing herself. New fashion, new sound would come out of her. And I think that you have to keep innovating. And so I think we've always worked really hard to be at the intersection of what is new and coming, whether it was technology or a trend or at the forefront of being with our customer. And how do you continue to test? And I think I've never been afraid to test. I'm totally okay with failure if it doesn't work. And I think that keeps people excited and interested in the brand. And then not losing our connection with our customer. Like I am the customer. I can speak to her. I know she is, from the 20-year-old, which I was, to the 44-year-old, which I am, and beyond. And I think it's that pulse on her and being real and approachable. I think there's a lot of designers that just never actually communicate to their customer. And I think mine is like, yeah, she's my best friend that I don't know.
Oh, I love that. How have you felt in terms of your personal brand? Obviously, you are the face of the brand, the namesake. As you've grown and evolved, have you ever felt, I guess, capped or felt like you had to stay in a box as the face of the brand? Or do you feel like the brand has allowed you to really just grow and evolve and take everyone on that journey?
I think there was a big misstep several years ago that I was not in favor of freezing the customer and only keeping her at 27. And I stopped identifying with the things that only a 27-year-old is interested in.
Yeah.
And I think that was really tough because I wanted to share more of my life and what was happening. And then I couldn't. I didn't have that vehicle. And so, finally, when that theory was proven wrong by others, we went back to talking to the spectrum of women who are all experiencing these firsts in their lives. That was when I was like, yeah, I was right. I let this go too long and never again.
Yeah. Okay. So have you ever felt like you could step back from the brand because the brand does obviously hold your name and a lot of your personality and the connection to the brand? Have you ever felt like you're unable to step back, or maybe you haven't even wanted to?
I haven't wanted to.
Yeah.
We sold the business in 2022.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, so when is your contract up? Are you going to leave? What's next? And I'm like, I don't see myself going anywhere. And it's my name and it's my legacy. And so unless it's really taken in a direction that's unrecoverable, I think I'm here for the long haul. And, I want to keep ensuring that the aesthetic and the design and the brand promise and why our customer loves us continues to be there. And so until I can't affect that anymore, I think I'll probably stick around.
Yeah. Obviously, having yourself as the brand, your name, comes with so many pros, obviously connecting with the audience, sharing your story, and it allows you to just kind of share who you are, and that ultimately leads to the sales of the products. But I'm sure with that also comes the criticism, the hate, the judgment, all of the eyes on you. How have you navigated throughout the years, I guess, if there were any times where there was a lot of criticism or a lot of hate? Does it feel more personal in those moments because your name is attached to it?
It's always personal.
Yeah.
I feel like I was quite fortunate up until last year. The hate and the trolling was really minimal.
Yeah.
It was the regular criticism you get from fashion journalists giving their opinion of your line. They've never designed anything. So I was like, you know what? They've never designed anything. So I don't really care what they think.
No.
I think that after the TV show blip that I did, that kind of criticism was the first time I've ever received like that.
Yeah.
And that was hard until I applied this mantra, which I got from a guest on my podcast, the founder of Nomadica Wines. And she said, only take advice from people whose lives you want. And so every time I would get trolled, I did click into see who that was. And did I want their life? Absolutely not.
No. It's always the ones. Some people who are doing more or achieving more will never have the time to criticize or spend time trolling online. So,
Correct.
Yeah. But how did that feel? What was some of the inner feelings or inner dialogue that came up with a lot of that trolling? Did you ever want to step back and hide? Did it make you fire up and want to show up even more? What kind of went on for you?
I think I would instinctually want to hide, but it's in those moments that you actually have to do the opposite, and you have to show up being better and flourishing. And so every time that would start happening once a week, and I would be like, oh, I just want to go to bed and like never come out. And they'd be like, nope, I'm going to post all the positive things that are going on with me, the brand, everything. And that is always a way to succeed in the face of a troll, a hater, whatever. It's just like, look at me, I'm doing awesome. Doesn't mean, and it's not to say you're not being authentic.
Yeah.
Right? You can still feel terrible and promote the good things that are happening.
Yeah.
So it's not like oh, look at me, I'm so happy. I wasn't saying I was happy. I was like, look at the cool, awesome stuff that's happening in life.
Yeah. And I almost feel like that disarms them anyway, because obviously at some point, if they stop getting a reaction, they're going to get bored. Yeah. And it's going to kind of die off. Has it kind of died off now?
Yeah. Now it's back to positive. And it's also like on my channels, I am like block and delete. Like I know some people don't like that, or it hurts engagement or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? This is my area and it's going to remain positive. And if you're a troll, bye-bye. Yeah.
You get to gatekeep your energy. So you don't need that. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Do you have people on your socials that can help filter that, or were you just the one in the trenches?
At the height of it, I was told, like, don't read the comments. Yeah. And so I did say to my former social media director, I was like, I need you to like take a first pass. Like if you see stuff, block and delete. That is like, I don't even want to respond and engage, just do that. Yeah. So she took on a lot of that. And now it's pretty much died down.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, I know we don't want to dive into that too much, but with that, I think in this day and age, everyone kind of sees reality TV or a TV show as a ticket to whether it is fame, whether it is it's going to help me grow my business, it's going to give me a platform. Did you feel like it helped or hindered your business?
When my e-commerce director did like a full sweep and the traffic tripled every week and brand awareness is up 20% year over decade, like you can pay for that, but it's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so to have that brand awareness, to have the interest, you know, like I said with Madonna, you have to have a reason for someone to keep talking about you.
Yeah.
And after 20 years, if you come out with a new collection, people are like, cool, she came out with a new collection. And so this was a way to get that interest as well.
Yeah. I actually was seeing some of the comments and it was really awesome to read the nice ones where they were like, I've always loved your brand and this actually just reminded me. So now I've gone out and bought 10 handbags and it's so awesome. But I think with visibility comes the haters. With anything positive, with even biggest supporters, I feel like you almost have to have or embrace the haters as well.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday, again, the woman I was telling you about before we started filming was like, you know, these hate is just twisted love, you know, and if they're watching you that closely and they're taking the time to comment, which when have you ever taken the time to hatefully comment on something? She's like, they actually really love you.
Yeah.
I was like,
or they secretly want to be you.
Or they're a little jealous.
Yeah.
So like now, like whatever, it's few and far between. And sometimes I get satisfaction of responding to them and then blocking and deleting them just cause.
Yeah. What was most of the hate around? What were the themes?
That I'm boring on TV. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Drama, I wasn't signing up for the drama. So
no.
If you're watching TV to see women shit all over each other, sorry, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. How did you remain? Because I know in some of those situations the producers would probably push quite hard for that. How did you remain grounded in your integrity and in your values?
I went into it telling them, being very honest, like this is what I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
And as much as they said, yeah, we don't need that from you. In those moments when they did try and get me, I was like, I'm not going to be someone who I'm not.
Yeah.
So if you think that I'm going to start acting crazy about someone saying something so petty, like I've been through real messed up stuff in business and in life. And this is so petty that if I were to react to this, I'd feel like a loser.
Yeah. No, that's really awesome. I mean, just having that clarity on your values when you went in there, I think is something a lot of people don't miss because they're like, I'll do anything to get whatever reward they're being promised. But I think integrity wins always. I actually really resonated with the boring comment. I think someone said it on the show or something. But I actually really resonated with that because for me growing up, I was never the loudest one in the room. I wasn't the crazy, super hype person. And I always felt like, oh, I must be boring if I'm not loud enough or if I'm not dramatic enough or if I'm not performing enough. And I actually really resonated with that because I think there's such a secret superpower or this quiet power in, I guess we'll say it boring, but I actually think it's such an incredible superpower. So I really resonated actually with that. Yeah. Because I think what you see most of the time in success or TV or public figures is the craziness and the overperforming and the showbiz energy. Yeah. Which sometimes is just masked insecurity as well.
100%. Yeah. The biggest performer on the show, I was so exhausted by her performing all the time. And I was just like, wow, that is so much work. And I will say, obviously, like editing controls a lot of what you saw. Yeah. And, I'm not here to defend anything, but I wasn't boring. No. But that was the role that I filled for them. Yeah. And so as I look back and I was like, there was this event and this activity and this funny time and this, I was like, okay, they needed to check a box and put me into something to give me a storyline, whatever. Yeah. And so I'm like, if you think I'm boring, do a full exploration of all my other vehicles of where I show up and then decide.
Yeah, because you've been on plenty of shows before as well. How did they differ?
Project Runway, I was on for a lot of guest judges and then a guest mentor. And that's just different. You're giving your opinion. I think in those situations, even they wanted you to be a little bit harsher or more critical because it's dramatic to have the host say, this dress is awful. But I'm also like, I don't want to crush this person. So I always was trying to be constructive about my criticism. I think it was okay. No one had complaints then.
No. I mean, those kind of shows, I guess, are these days they need to push such a more storyline, the drama, everything. So, that's incredible. Have you always known who you are? Have you always had that clarity on these are my values, I'm not going to waver on it?
I think that there have been like probably the core values that I've had. Yeah. And then obviously like you make mistakes in life or you do something and then you're like, oh, I got to add this to my core value. That's something I shouldn't do or I shouldn't act that way. And so obviously things are always being worked on, but I think I've definitely wanted to remain humble and kind and pay it forward. And, I've met enough designers in my life that you leave and you're like, oh, that didn't feel as good as I thought it would to like be in their presence or try and talk to them. Right. And I never want someone to come away with that with me. Not to say I'm always perfect, like I'm in the mood sometimes and whatever.
As we all are. Yeah. No, I get that. But I think being just kind and remembering that everyone's a human is so underrated.
It's so underrated and people can't what's crazy is people can't get through their own bullshit to just be nice sometimes. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. That's wild to me.
I think some people are so in their heads about how do I be the most interesting? How do I look a certain way that they forget there's a other person? And it's almost like you need to be interested, not trying to be the most interesting. Yes. In those situations.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So much. Okay. I want to talk to you about building your empire. So obviously you started with Rebecca Minkoff, the incredible fashion label, but now you have your podcast Superwomen, you have Female Founder Collective, you're doing so many different things. So I want to know, what does your business structure look like? Are they all intertwined? Are they completely separate? How do you manage it all?
So basically, if you look at Rebecca Minkoff as the hub, and then there are a lot of spokes, and there are brand pillars, and this is not something we sat and strategized. It's how, they all organically happened, but they all kind of plugged in. So Female Founder Collective and my podcast I launched in 2018. Female Founder Collective was out of loneliness in the founder landscape. The podcast was a way to amplify the women's voices that I was already doing in my store and in my showroom. And just thought there's got to be a better way to scale this. And, you know, if we're dressing a woman to make her feel more powerful and fearless, like, let's also give her the tools in her business and, you know, on her jog or whatever to listen to other women who have done it. And then I think it's just about finding really great generals and a support team. Like, no, I do not do this alone. You know, I have a producer, I have my assistant, I have a show notes writer. I have, you know, someone on Female Founder Collective, my co-founder and CEO, our founding team member. Like, there are definitely people that are making sure the trains are leaving the station every day. And that allows me to scale because as one person, you cannot scale.
No. I think a lot of founders want to do it all themselves. I've definitely been there, and I'm in the phase of building out my team as well. What does your role look like now, and what do you feel like you lean into as your strengths in all these businesses?
So with the brand, I oversee all of the PR, all the show, all the social, all the top of funnel marketing, as well as working with my creative director who's been with me for 19 years on the design. And so that obviously after 20 years, we have systems in place, and with her at the helm, it's a very easy yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. This is my inspiration. These are my ideas. And then, you know, she can then deploy. And then full-time CEO, co-founder Allie runs Female Founder Collective. And we're really in scaling that. We have about 30,000 members. And so we're continuing to grow that. So when I'm working on that, I'm either working on high tier strategy, our next event, the type of programming we should be having, big introductions to brands and partners. And then on my podcast, I'm showing up to interview women, and I have a great waiting list of women. So I'm not working too hard to find guests. They're coming to me, which is nice.
Good.
And then the rest I sort of not automate, but like I leave, that gets sent to my editor. She does her job. It goes to the show notes person. And these are not expensive things. Like I've gotten quotes just to be transparent on what some of these things cost, what people pay. And I found a way to do it that I can scale it.
Okay, that's really awesome insight, because I think we can learn so much even just by seeing the inner workings, because from the outside we can say, okay, she does it all. There's so much happening there. But even just the work that goes into a podcast, I know because we're sitting here, but even just having a producer, what do they do for you in terms of how that looks?
So I don't have a producer in the sense that some people do where they're like, this is the story arc or this is the guest you should have. Maybe I should do that. I don't know. So I have an editor that takes the episode, chops it up, you know, takes out the ums and the ahs, and then prepares it also for social and then uploads it to YouTube. And that's where they start and stop. Then the show notes writer writes all the show notes. And then that gets sent to my RM team for deployment in email, obviously the captions that we're using, and then my social media director will post it.
It's such a beast.
It's a beast
process. But I mean, it's quite a streamlined process, I guess. It's kind of the same each week, and you get to come in and do the creative fun parts of the recordings. When it comes to your other two parts of the business, obviously you have your creative director, which I'm assuming is more of an employee role, and then you've got your co-founder in Female Founder Collective. What do you find is the difference if someone's thinking about, okay, I've realized I need someone to almost come in and take that strategic role or that implementation role, and if they're toying between, do I need someone as an employee and come in as the creative director, or do I need someone who is a co-founder? What do you find is the difference between the two?
So the difference is really, you know, when Jody, my creative director, started, she walked in as a part-time freelance designer because we couldn't afford more than that. It was just me designing everything alone. And she's really grown through the company, just focusing on handbags and now overseeing all categories. And I think that if I owned the company, I'd probably make her a partner or co-founder, but I don't anymore. So I think that's how her growth path kind of went. With the co-founder and Allie, she came about 3 months after I launched and said, I see what you're doing. I love it. I feel like I can help you scale this. And we had a lot of conversations. What is she good at? What am I good at? What does she want to do? What do I want to do? And we came away with like, I do not want to be the CEO. She really wanted to. And I was like, great, you run the day-to-day, you run the team, and we'll work together on all the strategy, all the big ideas. Obviously, a lot of the relationships are mine and hers. And so we focus on maintaining those. And so we were very clear from day one, these are the lanes. And so I think if someone's starting a business, they have to ask themselves, like, what are they good at? What do they hate? Can you hire for that? Or do you want a co-pilot? That doesn't solve everything. Yeah. Just like money doesn't solve everything. Yeah. With a co-pilot, you do have difficulties in navigating situations. And so you have to be prepared for that. Or do you want an employee who's just like, I take orders, but they're not permanent? Like, I'm extraordinarily lucky Jody's lasted 19 years. Yeah. It's very rare.
Even these days, I feel like people barely last 19 days before they decide they're ready for another.
Don't get me started. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I think you just have to be aware that if it's an employee, like, how do you incentivize them? I gave Jody equity in the company to get her to stay. Yeah. So that she knows she's working towards an eventual outcome.
What does it look like when you don't own the company and you're the face, the founder? Are you listed as an employee? How does that work?
Yes. I'm listed as the founder and chief creative officer. There are those moments where you definitely feel like an employee when, a decision is made and you're like, I don't agree. And they're like, cool, this is a decision. And you're like, I don't agree. And then they're like, well, we're not changing our minds. And that has happened. They know me by now that I will push so hard if I disagree. And I'm not scared to because I'm like, what are you going to do? Fire me? Yeah. And so now when a decision is firm, I am told this is firm. Please do not push back. And that's not easy. That's hard because before I called the shots with my brother. So if it's really, really, really important, I'll fight for a very long time. Yeah. And then other things I just have to let go.
Yeah. On that, what do you find is your definition of unstoppable? Because that to me sounds very unstoppable. It's like, just watch me. I'm going to keep pushing until.
Yes. I push a lot.
Yeah. But what would you say is your definition of unstoppable?
I'd say that my definition is there's barriers. There's barriers in every aspect of your life, but you just push through them. And you keep going until you hit that like titanium, 20 thick foot wall. And even then you might be kicking it. Yeah. Life is hard and you can't give up if you love what you do and you have a goal. And too many people these days are just tricked with instant gratification because of the dopamine hits we get on our phone and the instant things that can arrive to us. But like your career is not that. So you have to be unstoppable.
Yeah. So true. Have you always had that mindset even as a child?
Of being unstoppable?
Yeah. Or did you learn it along the way?
I think that my mom really made it in our household that I had to work for everything I wanted. And so I was aware of if I want something, it has to be done through work. So it was never a shock. Like sometimes my daughter will opt out of doing something because she doesn't want to do the work. Yeah. And I don't give in. And I'm like, I'm not going to give you this thing. Like she's going to summer camp. She wants all the extra stuff. I was like, I'm going to buy you the basics and all the stuff above that you can work for. Yeah. Come back to me with what you want to do for this stuff. And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well then you don't get it. Yeah. You don't want to. But then other times, she was part of a fashion like sewing class and she wanted these shoes. And I said, how are you going to earn them? And then she like, it was so important to her. She did the work.
That's so interesting. So it's even just teaching them priorities and where you put your energy and how you decide what is worth the work and what isn't. So I love that so much. Yeah. Because I'm sure you could hand them everything on a silver platter.
Oh, I refuse. Yeah. I say no all the time.
Yeah. I love that though. Yeah. You've got to set them up for the success.
Yeah, and I think the kids, I know a lot of kids that are handed everything, and I just don't think they'll ever know how to work hard. And I just think you're doing a disservice.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important. incredible. When it comes to knowing where to put your energy, where do you feel like you put your energy in all your different projects? Is it consistently always on across all of them? Is there different seasons? And where do you feel like is the most lucrative kind of opportunity as we're moving into this age of AI and everything that's coming?
Oh gosh, AI podcasts are here. So I think that I now put my attention to what is the highest and best use of my time. And there are seasons when it comes to Rebecca Minkoff. There's always like, what are we doing for Fashion Week? So that's September and February. We don't always do something, but that is the time to activate because you are in the zeitgeist of everyone's attention and eyeballs on New York City and what the fashion and design industry are doing. Or like summer, we always do like a summer event of some sort. So like I know my pulse points with that. The rest is kind of always on. There's never a break, but I've been trying to just focus on the activities, and I'm being transparent, that are lucrative.
Yeah.
Because there can be a lot of vanity projects and ego projects. And I am at the height of spend in terms of 4 children and school and so to me, I'm following the things that frankly are lucrative and that are setting me and my family up.
Yeah. Do you feel like each of your areas, your spokes on your brand pillars really are intertwined, or do you feel like one of them kind of drives the most lucrative opportunities?
I think that they're intertwined, but the customers are very different. You know, my podcast listener isn't necessarily the handbag customer.
Yeah.
There's overlap in the big cities, but in the small cities, you know, I'll meet someone who just loves me for my podcast or just loves me for my bags.
Right.
And so it's interesting. Or like Female Founder Collective, they just know me from that. And so I'm fascinated by the fact that that to me, it's so clear that it's like the hub and spoke, but then there are some people that are just picking one.
Yeah.
So they all feed each other though, I think, as an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I'll have a podcast partner come in, like I partnered with Magnum. They've been an amazing partner. I think we're going on 4 years now, for the podcast.
Yeah.
So we did 4 episodes around, you know, celebrating Sex in the City with Candace Bushnell. We had some great guests, and that was an incredible way to highlight what inspired me 20 years ago was Candace and Sex in the City, you know? And so having that come full circle and having, you know, Magnum come in to help support that is a way that I made the worlds collide, if that makes sense.
Yeah. How do you go about getting these kind of partnerships for your podcast or even for your events?
I'll either reach out to a brand that I feel like makes sense, but I have also had a girl that's been on my team for about 5 years that oversaw all the partnerships for me and the brand. And she's no longer with the brand, but she oversees all my partnerships. So she really is out there helping do the pitching and the selling when it does come to a podcast partnership. So that's been really, really helpful.
Yeah. How important do you feel like partnerships are in terms of your business model at the moment?
Well, I think that, you know, many people monetize their podcasts on ads, you know, host read ads or auto, you know, dynamic insertion. And that's great. But as I said, I have all these things and I need to pay all these people. So the partnerships really come in to make it worthwhile for everybody involved.
So incredible. And there's so many different ways to monetize everything, particularly your personal brand. Are there other ways that you've monetized your personal brand other than obviously your business and your event and just podcast? Not that that's not enough already, but are there other ways that you've been able to create income streams by choosing to be the face and the personal brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think people will come to me, for instance, last summer, Solace Health. They're a membership-based healthcare where you could just go in 24/7. Like this morning I was there. And I didn't have to wait in line or be in the ER for 4 hours or whatever. And I can go in, I can get my no, you don't have pneumonia check. And so I partnered with them on a dinner series, and I invited, you know, groups of women who they were trying to target, right? Moms in New York City. So that was a way as like a personal brand, because I am a mom, I am interested in health. You end up at the doctor a lot with kids, that made sense. So I'll never do something that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to start talking about Wendy's hamburgers or McDonald's or whatever.
Not ready to sell out.
Unless they want to do grass-fed beef. But I think I try and make them thoughtfully integrated so that you never want to have that thing where I'll stop and scroll and be like, that doesn't seem to fit. Oh, she just took the money.
Yeah.
You know, I never want to do that because I think to me, then you lose trust.
I think something that is so big that I am getting from you is just integrity in every single thing. Whether
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I once had $100,000 offered to me for a deodorant brand.
Yeah.
And it was actually being offered to the business, not me personally, but I was like, the business needed the money, you know, but I was like, you have aluminum in your deodorant and I don't do that. I was like, can you make a non-aluminum and then give us the money? And they're like, no. So, but you have to have that integrity. Like I can't go talk about something that I don't use or don't like or don't resonate with because she's watching. Yeah. And if she feels like you're betraying her, then that trust is not worth it. It's not worth the money.
It's almost like looking at the short-term win of, oh my gosh, $1,000 is being waved in my face, but then thinking about the long-term cost of that, the ROI is always going to be so much greater when you think about the long term. And obviously that's why you've been in business for 20 years and still going so strong.
Yeah, you have to look at the long term or else you're sunk.
Yeah, but it's so
tempting. And it hurts sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Amazing. With your fashion brand, do you feel like the success of that has been almost having this legacy message of women empowerment? It's obviously not just beautiful handbags or beautiful clothes, but there's a deeper message behind it. Do you feel like that's been one of the strongest points in why you've stuck around?
You know, it really wasn't like the female empowerment part of it wasn't a focus until I realized how shitty women have it. Because I was in an industry that was already shitty of women being terrible to each other. And I was like, this is normal. This is fashion. And when I peered outside and I was like, oh, I never had the glass ceiling, or I didn't know there was wage inequality because that's not how we had operated within my company because it's all women, except for my brother who is my co-founder. So I was like, oh God, it's really bad, you know? And I just thought it was women on women. So I felt like that's when it became personal. And I was like, now I have to say something. And now I have a big enough mouthpiece to say something.
Yeah.
But it's not like when I started, I was like, I'm going to be for this. I was just a girl who had an idea, who was obsessed with this, like moving to New York City, being like a successful entrepreneur and finding love. Like that was the impetus. And making sure we're supporting women came later when I realized how messed up it was.
Yeah. Did that help the brand and the connection with the customer when you did implement that message?
I can't tell you that it helped. There's no way to measure this stuff, you know? Other than when I meet my customer and she's like, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do, you know, and then that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I said, some women just like the bags and they have no idea I do anything else.
Yeah. They have no idea who you are. They think it's a nice brand name.
Well, or like they're like, I love your brand, but they don't know about the podcast or the book or, you know, Female Founder Collective. Yeah. So some of them are just like, I'm a fan of the brand.
Okay. So looking ahead, obviously I'm sure you're always looking out at trends, but not even just in fashion, but trends on consumers and thought processes and how people move in the world. Where are you looking forward to in the future? And are you seeing anything that business owners should really start to prioritize?
I haven't started it yet, but I am deeply toying with a Come Watch Me Build series that I'll probably do on YouTube because I've seen the rise of these creator-led brands that are filming every part of the unsexy part of business and the fanaticism that these customers have around it. And the connection that they feel to the founder is wild. And I haven't seen it done yet with a legacy brand. And I was like, I think I want to maybe just put my own cameras on and just show what it's like.
Yeah.
So
make the show
we'll
that
see.
you were promised.
Make the show I was promised.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so excited. I think that would be so incredible because like you said, there are a lot of founders starting from zero now and documenting the process, but it would be so interesting to see a legacy brand, how you run things now that it's so established.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm sure you've always got to adopt that startup mindset and just continually pivot, change, adapt.
Yes.
Put out
Constant
fires.
reinvention. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to see that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing all your wisdom with us today. I could talk to you for years, but I feel like we've jam-packed this episode. So thank you for sharing all that you do with us and the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.